9-1 is ellipses. And the standard form for ellipses are x minus h quantity squared over a squared plus y minus k quantity squared over b squared equals 1. So the example I'm going to give you is x squared over 16 plus y squared over 4 equals 1. And we're going to graph this. Natalia, under the x is a 16. Do you agree?
Yes.
What's the square root of 16? So I go 4 to the right and 4 to the left. Are there any questions on how I got these points? Jake, under the y is a 4. What's the square root of 4?
2.
So in the y direction I go 2. And I sketch an ellipse.
What does the 1 have to do with that?
That allows you to get your other numbers. It has to equal 1 or else you won't have the 16 and 4 correct.
Will it give us an equation where it doesn't equal 1?
Sure.
Okay.
Multiply everything by 16, Jake.
Okay.
What would I get if I took every single thing times 16? X squared plus 4y squared equals 16. That's the exact same equation written differently. If you divide by 16, divide by 16, divide by 16, is it going to equal this? So yes, there are other ways of writing them. Any question in general about this ellipse? I hope you're watching because you can get a lot out of what I'm going to give you today. Or not.
So if the other number on the right side of the equation is anything but 1, you divide it by that number?
To make it equal 1, yes.
Cool.
Now, 9-2 deals with hyperbolas. And I'm going to give you almost the same equation. X squared over 16, but this time it's going to be a minus. Okay. Is this almost identical to the first equation, Jake?
Yes.
What's the only thing that's different?
There's a minus.
There's a minus instead of a plus. Cole, do you agree this one has a minus instead of a plus? The only difference between these? Okay, please watch how I graph this one. Under the x is a 16. What's the square root of 16?
4.
So I still go 4 to the left and 4 to the right. What's under the y? The square root of 4 is 2, so I still go 2 in the y direction. If it was an ellipse, I make an ellipse. This is not an ellipse, so I don't make an ellipse. I make what's called a rectangle. And I'm going to do it dotted because the rectangle is not part of the graph. Then I'm going to do the diagonals of that rectangle. Now, which one is positive? The x or the y?
The x.
So that means it opens around the x-axis. So when I actually graph this thing, I want it to open around the x-axis towards these asymptotes. So I don't consider a hyperbola any much more difficult than an ellipse, except it opens outward instead of inward. Any questions on the comparison between a hyperbola and an ellipse? Yes.
So if y was positive and x was negative, you got to multiply it by -1?
Well, then it wouldn't equal a positive one on the right.
Then what
If the y was positive, it would open up and down.
Okay.
If the x is positive, it opens left and right. Yes.
Let's say those lines that kept going on and on. Is that
Yes, those are called asymptotes.
Is that blue line ever going to touch that your red dotted line?
No.
Oh,
The-
sweet.
It's an asymptote. It's going to get closer and closer, but it'll never reach it.
Are you?
Cold you silly idiot.
Any questions 9.1 or 9.2? Anything at all 9.1 or 9.17? Seventeen says 7x squared equals 35 minus 5y squared. I'm going to add the 5y squared over. So if I add 5y squared, it's going to just make it equal 35, right? How do I make this equal 1? Divide by 35, divide by 35, divide by 35. That makes x squared over 7 goes into 35 5 times. Y 5 goes into 35 7 times. So now you have it in the form. The center is at the origin, 0, 0. Under the x, I go to the square root of 5. So what is the square root of 5? 2 point something?
2.23.
So I go square root of 5 to the right and square root of 5 to the left. How about in the y direction? What's the square root of 7?
2.6.
So not 3, but almost. So it's up here. 0 radical 7. Down here, 0 negative radical 7. It's almost circular. How about the focus? Where's the focus? C is equal to the square root of a squared minus b squared. So that'd be 7 minus 5 or square root of 2. So you have a focus at square root of 2, 0. And over here at negative square root of 2, 0 are your two foci. And I'm wrong. Anybody correct me? What did I do wrong? Anybody?
A squared is.
Nobody, huh? Okay.
A is
C is the square root of 2. Isn't the focus always on the longer axis?
There is no longer.
Square root of 7 is bigger than the square root of 5, isn't it? Shouldn't it be on these axes?
Oh, Mr. Schultz, shouldn't it be 5 minus 7?
I'm sorry?
Shouldn't it be 5 minus 7?
You can't take square root of a negative?
So you can switch the A and B?
Yes. My mistake was I had it on the wrong axis because it has to be on the longer axis, right? Anyway, 17's all right. It's probably not the best example to start with. Yeah, I was not here Friday, so I had a substitute. Apparently I had Mr. Fleischer, so kind of waiting for people to complain about him as a substitute tomorrow. I've known him for more than 30 years. He's really a great guy. The training room is made for him at this school. Yes, sure.
Why would people complain about them?
No, they won't. They might, but I'll know that they're wrong, but, yeah, you can use that one or the other one, doesn't matter. I still remember when, Mr. Fleischer and I went with the baseball team, we went to Scottsdale, Arizona. And parents will complain about anything. So they're staying in a hotel that has like a happy hour bar with complimentary beers. They said, oh, the coaches are down there drinking every day. Coaches weren't down there once. Parents were down there drinking. Coaches weren't down there once. And they tried to say, yeah, Fleischer was down there. Fleischer hasn't touched alcohol in 40 years. So when they say things like that, it's, I'm sorry?
Do you know why he's on 40 years ago?
Why he's not hadn't drank for 40 years? He doesn't want to. Anything else up to 17? Your quiz on Friday will have approximately 6 questions. It will have one easy one. It will have one like $25 to $35. And one completing the square. Now, I already know 25 to 35 and completing the square. Most people can do the basic one. But when I give it to you in words, sometimes people fall apart because they don't know what everything means. So I'm going to ask you to choose one, at least one, from 25 to 35. And we will try to write the equation to graph these things. Actually, I need it over here so I can see it. So. Anything at all? 25 to 35? 29. Everybody okay with 29? Take a look at 29. '29 says the foci are positive, negative 2, 0, and y-intercepts positive, negative 3. Angelina, the y-intercept, would you agree the y-intercept occurs when x is 0? Okay, the y-intercept occurs when x is 0. So that gives me some points. I always recommend you graph these. So what's given? 2, 0, negative 2, 0 is your focus. 0, 3, 0, negative 3 are either my vertices or my co-vertices. Can anybody tell me which they are? Co-vertices, good, because the foci are on the longer axis. So when I go to fill this in, x minus h over a squared plus y minus k quantity squared over b squared, I want to fill in x minus, I want to fill in y minus, and I want to make it equal 1. Okay, what do I know now? Hang on, let me just do one other thing. Squared, squared. Okay, where's the center? Is it 0, 0? Cole, in the y direction, did we move 3? So under the y, I'm going to put a 3. So I believe at this point I almost have my answer. I have y squared over 9. I have x squared over. I just need to figure out how far it goes in the x direction, right? How could I find how far it goes in the x direction? Any suggestions? Caleb, Griffin, any suggestions?
The foci.
Excellent. Exactly right. I would use a focal point, or the focal length. I know that c is equal to the square root of a squared minus b squared. What is length c here? C is 2. And I know that in the y direction, I know that the a has to be bigger. And I know b squared is 9. Square both sides, add 9, and now I know that a squared is 13. So I would go the square root of 13 in each direction. So I'm going to go the square root of 13, which is not quite 4, it's 3 point something, right? Oops. 3 point something. I'll go back to red for this one. So that point is square root of 13. This over here is negative square root of 13. I haven't scanned it, just go ahead. Now I can ask all sorts of things here. Jake, can you tell me what the minor axis length is? Minor axis length is 6. What's the semi-minor axis? 3. Here's a hard one. What's a major axis length? Radical 13 and radical 13 makes 2 radical 13s. What's a semi-major axis? Square root of 13. So I could ask all sorts of things about it. I just want you to know how we get it. Any questions on how we got the equation? I would graph it and try and identify what you can from it, basically.
What were the names of all the axes?
What's what now?
I just want to know the names, like how you refer to them, the minor, the major.
Oh, the major's the longest axis, minor's the shorter axis. Jake? Major axis, 2 radical 13. Semi-major
Oh, that's what.
is radical 13. Minor axis is your shorter length, that's 6. Semi-minor is 3, half the minor.
There's a
Semi just means half of it.
I just didn't remember what
I know, it's been a while, I understand. Questions on 29, yes.
So how do you,
Caleb?
what is the foci have to do with the equation? How do you?
What does the foci have to do with it? Without knowing this length is 2, I could not have found a squared.
So why do we use the foci?
To be able to find a squared. Now you'll notice sometimes they give you the foci. Sometimes they give you vertices. Sometimes they give you the length of major axis horizontal length 8. They might give you the major axis vertical length 10. There's different things they could give you, yes.
In problem 30, if you're looking for B,
I can't hear you, what?
so for problem 30, since it gives you the x-intercept, you'd be looking
What number?
number 30.
30. 0, -2, 0, 2. So those are the foci on the y-axis. Would you agree with this?
Yes.
Which means it's longer vertically. Now the x-intercepts are 2 and x, so basically it's going to be y squared over something plus x squared over 4 equals 1. Then you'd have to find what the other missing part is. If you want me to do it, just ask, I can do them.
Number 28.
I'm sorry?
28.
28. Everybody ready for 28? What does 28 give us? Foci is 0, positive or negative 3, right? And vertices are what?
Positive, negative, 4.
I think 0, negative. You said 28, right?
Yeah.
Vertices are 0, 4, 0, negative 4. Does that make this horizontal or vertical? Plot the points. Where's 0, 3? 0, negative 3. Those are your foci, right? 0, 4. 0, negative 4. So, is it more longer vertical or longer horizontal? So that means the y squared has to come first. I'm sorry. It really doesn't matter. I'm thinking hyperbolas. X squared over y squared over 1. Do you agree in the y direction we went 3? So that would be 3 squared.
That's
Caleb, I've lost you at all so far. Because the y direction I went 3, I put it under the y because it's in the y direction, and 3 squared is 9, right?
Are you going from the foci or the vertices?
The vertices.
Vertices 4.
Vertices tell me
The number
A or B, yes.
4 spaces.
I'm sorry?
The vertice is 4.
The vertices is 4, so you're absolutely right. So this should be 4 squared is 16. Is that what you said? I agree with you. Because that is 4. Okay, how can I find the y value? C is equal square root of a squared minus b squared. Do I know C, the focal length?
Yes.
You know it's 3, right? Do I know A, the longer length has to be, actually that's not a 3, that's what misled me. That length is what? 4. Let's see if we can find B. Square both sides. I'm going to add the b squared and subtract the 9. So that tells me the b squared is 7. I can sketch it, we can do more with it, but did I lose you? That was an even one, it wasn't a sign, but still like to take questions on it. Okay, so I said I'd give you a basic one, I'd give you one with the words, and I guarantee I will also give you one where you have to complete the square. Sorry about that. Yeah. $51, $53, or $55? Does anybody have a preference? They're all assigned. We're going for 55 odds.
51.
51. Is that all right? 51, okay? These are ones where you're going to complete the square. So we're going to look at one like 51. Nine x squared plus 25y squared minus 36x plus 50y. Okay, guaranteed quiz question, and everybody's aware of this, right? Nine x squared minus 36x 25y squared 50y. Okay, let's see. Caleb,
Yes.
would you agree that the only thing I did was rearrange? Yes. All I did was rearrange. I added 164 and put the x's with the x squareds, y's with y squareds. Caleb knows that I can factor out a 9x out of both of these, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to factor out a 9.
Why wouldn't you put the 50y with the minus 16? Does that just not work?
I put the y's with the y squareds, the x's with the x squareds.
That's 164.
Oh, that looks like a 16y. My bad. Hey, it's not my fault. I thought it was a y. Sorry.
Jake, can I take a 25y out of both of these?
Yes.
No, I'm only going to take out a 25, Caleb. Why?
I'm not sure yet.
Because that makes my leading coefficient a 1. You can only complete the square if the leading coefficient is a 1, like it is right here, and like it is right here.
Can't it be a 2?
Now we're going to complete the square. So take half of 4.
2.
Half of 4 goes here, it's 2. What's 2 squared? 4. In reality, you added 9 times 4, or 36, so I'm going to add 36 to the other side. What's half of 2? That goes here, 1. 1 squared is 1. In reality, I added 25 times 1, so I have to add 25 to both sides. What do I get? I believe those add to 225. How do I make 225 equal 1? Divide by 225, divide by 225, divide by 225. That makes x minus 2 quantity squared over, I believe, 50, no. Over what? Is it 25?
Wait, I'm sorry. Where did you get the plus 4 plus 1?
I'm sorry? Half of 4 is 2, and 2 squared is 4.
Oh, you're just completing the,
and
oh,
completing the square.
I just didn't see that.
9 goes into 225 how many times? And 25 goes into 225, I believe, 9 times. So now you have your formula, which is going to enable me to graph it somehow. To graph it, I find what makes the center is what makes this 0, comma, what makes that 0. So 2, negative 1. Is everybody okay with the center being 2, negative 1? Two, negative 1. How far in the x direction do I go?
5.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's the coordinate out here?
7. Negative 1.
If I go 5 to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's this coordinate?
Negative 3.
Negative 3, negative 1. How about the y's? How far in the y direction do I go? Up 3 and down 3. Three less than negative 1 would be negative what? 1, 2, 3, negative 4, right? Bear with me 1 second. So is that up 1, 2, 3 and down 1, 2, 3? To the right 5 and to the left 5, right? Now how about the focus? This is a good question because you might actually find a nice point for the focus. Would C be the square root of A squared minus B squared? So would that be 25 minus 9? So is the C just 4? So where would be my focal coordinates? It's a hard one to find. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it'd be right there. Any ideas? And go to the left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 2, negative 1. Questions on the two foci or anything on 51?
So the vertices are just the points?
I'm sorry?
The vertices are just the points on it?
Okay, excellent question. Caleb, there's two vertices. This is a vertices, and this over here, 7, negative 1 is a vertices. The vertices are at the end of the major axis. These are called co-vertices. The co-vertices are at the ends of the minor axis. Let me say that again. Vertices are at the edges of major axis. Co-vertices are at the ends of the minor axis. So I've done the three types that I would give you. A basic or generic one, One where it gives you words describing vertices, horizontal or whatever, foci, whatever they give you. And a complete and square one. I don't know which one's the hardest or to you. I also put up over there the 9-2 assignment, I believe. We're gonna do 9 to 23 odds and 37 to 45, so there's not that many there. Last week, 37 to 45. 37 to 45. So 43 or 45, choose one. Cole, 43 or 45?
43.
43. You may I do this 43? Nine three. I'm gonna look at 43. Actually, it's 9-2, isn't it? 9-2, 43. Robin, both squared subtracted. Would you agree with that? Both variables squared subtracted? That tells you it's a hyperbola. Dan, if both squared added, same coefficient would be circle. Different coefficient ellipse. Both squared subtracted like this one is a hyperbola. Caleb. I'm sorry? 9-2, I hope, right? Nine two. 9-3 is gonna be a different shape. So. Okay. Alex, what did I do from step 1 to step 2?
All you do is rearrange.
Thank you. That's all I did was rearrange it. Everybody okay with just rearranging it? Cameron, you all right?
Yeah.
Cameron, is this leading coefficient a 1? But this one's a negative 1, right? So I can't complete the square unless leading coefficient's a positive 1. So the first one's fine, I might just leave it. The second one, if I take a negative out, does that change those signs? Now I have leading coefficients of 1. That should enable me to complete the square. Okay, half of 2. 1. What's 1 squared? If you add 1 to one side, you have to add 1 to the other side. Any questions? Cameron, a lot of people are going to miss this. What's half of 4 here? 2, and what's 2 squared? But in reality, you added a negative 4, right? Negative 1 times 4. So you also have to add a negative 4, which makes this thing on the right just equal a 1, I think, right? So I think I have it in the form already. Where's the center? Is the center at 1, negative 2? 1, negative 2. Would you agree these are both over ones? So I go one to the left, one to the right, one up, one down, and I make a rectangle. Just so happens that this rectangle is a square. I'm doing these dotted because it's a hyperbola. Now one of them is positive, the X or the Y. One of them is a positive. One has a negative. Which has the positive? Would you agree the X has a positive? So that means it opens around the X-axis, which means right and left. So what are my vertices? 2, -2, and 0, -2. I'm not sure how much we'll get into the foci. I'll be happy with the graphing. Questions at all on 43? Hey, if you need me to move the ball, tell me which ones you want me to do. I'm pretty much done what I want to do, explain for the day. If you see anything you want me to work, just let me know. Let me stop that.